That time again. It is a Wednesday. It is a great day. There are mules in the stalls. There are donkeys on the trail. There is life to be lived, and that means that we are here to talk about living your best life with them mules and donkeys. Steve Edwards, how's it going?
I gotta do it just dandy, just dandy. It's 109 degrees here right now.
That's right.
And I was just up in the mountains, just got back about an hour and a half ago. It was 85 degrees up there.
I'll take that. I'll bet there's some people watching today who are in 85-degree weather, and they're just loving it. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, folks, we are glad that you are here. My name is Dave. This here is Steve Edwards. Steve's been working with mules and donkeys since 1981. Of course, he's been cowboying all his life. And a couple years ago, we got to thinking, well, you know what? It might be a good idea if we take some of these things that Steve's learned and we get them up on YouTube so that well after Steve is gone and he goes home to be with the Lord, that information can live on and that you can experience just how awesome these animals are, the mule, the donkey, how God made them to be. So that's why we're here. So if you're brand new, welcome. There are three things that we ask. Steve knows what they are. Folks who are watching know what they are, but now I want you to know what they are too. The first thing is we just want to know that you're watching. Put your name, where you're watching from, and what the weather is like. The second thing is ask any and every question that you got. And then the third thing is that you share the broadcast. Now, y'all did a fantastic job last week sharing the broadcast. I went back in afterwards and I just saw there were folks who were tagging friends on Facebook, and there were quite a few people who had clicked share too. And that really is the thing that you can do that encourages us the most. So for the next 60 minutes, we are going to talk mules, donkeys, answer questions so that you can make progress. Every time you get out there, you're able to move a little bit more closer towards some of the things that you want to do. Steve is fresh back from Flagstaff. What were you doing up there?
I was up there scouting, looking for elk, looking for water and this sort of thing. But I did make a decision today, Dave.
Okay.
The next dishonest mule that I work with, I'm going to call it COVID-19.
There you have it, folks. We heard it. You heard it right here first. The next mule that gives Steve a hard time, COVID-19. So, you know what? I've had some folks messaging me saying, are you guys going to be doing any clinics? I said, well, this COVID-19 has got us all up in arms. We don't know what's going to happen. But when we do decide to do one, bring your mule out here. And if it's COVID-19, we will create a vaccination through ground foundation work using that come-along hitch as the syringe, and you will walk away and you'll say, I beat COVID-19. And everyone will be like, oh my goodness, good for you.
Yeah, any dishonest mule from now on, I'm going to call it COVID-19 because that's about as dishonest as you can get this here so-called pandemic that they're doing. But anyway, that's another political thing I won't get into, you know? Yeah.
You know what? Yeah. There's a good number of folks out there who are wondering the exact same thing. What in the world is going on? We ain't never lived through a pandemic, and there's a lot of stuff flying around, but we're going to give you the straight truth here about the mules and the donkeys today. Steve, we got a lot of folks already here. You want to know who's watching?
Good.
I'll tell you who's watching. We've got Joy from Australia, so we've gone international already. Love that, Joy. Glad to have you here. Eileen is here. Eileen's been with us for a long time, and we're so grateful for you, Eileen. Close to 90 degrees and humid, Nebraska today. We've got Linda, the mule servant, and Theo, the sweet one-eyed mule, watching from sunny rural central Ohio. Grateful for you here. Jana Griffin from Wyoming. Rainy today, she says. Let's see here. Holly's watching. She's got questions. Holly, we will get to your question first. Sharon is watching from Central New York, having a great summer thanks to hey, how about this? Thanks to purchasing your saddle. So she's having a great summer. How about that mule or donkey having a great summer? We like hearing that, all right. That's pretty great. Randy's watching from Chandler, Indiana. Randy, I am in Chandler, Arizona right now. Good company. Sharon and Steve are watching from Fairplay, Kentucky. My family's out there in Paducah, so much love to Kentucky. Trace is watching. Good eye from Queensland, Australia. Beautiful cold here, sunny morning. Hope y'all are well. Yeah, there we go. Gone international again. Good A, Trace. Glad to have you here. Dan is watching from East Texas, hot and wet. Lynn is watching from Minnesota. We've got Danielle watching from Washington. Let's go over on YouTube. Cindy is watching from Tennessee, 92 degrees and nice humid breeze. Bringing my mule to Arizona in February. What are your favorite trails to ride? Steve, give me your top trail to ride in Arizona.
Anything in the Superstition Wilderness area.
There you go.
You can start from Peralta, First Water, and ride north. Ride east, ride north, ride south. I mean, there's trails all over that. That's absolutely my favorite.
There you go, Cindy. Start with the Superstition Trails. That'll be great. Kim is watching. Afternoon, Steve and Dave. I'm watching from Texas. All right. Howdy. We're glad you're here. Shelly is watching from Sook, British Columbia, Canada. We've gone international again. She says it's 80 degrees up there, so it sounds like a little bit of Canada has made its way down to Flagstaff. Kiki's watching. Says, hi, guys. Very warm here in Southern Oregon. How do I watch Happiness owning a donkey? Since I missed it, thanks so much. Kiki, send me a message. I'll get you taken care of. Shelly says, does Steve ever travel for clinics, ever come up to British Columbia, Canada? Yes, he does. And let me tell you how to get him up there, Shelly. The way to get Steve up there is either one, host a clinic yourself and then work with the community to bring folks in. We've had a lot of people do that and they love it. Their community, that mule community around them loves it. And if that's something that you want to do, we are all ears. And then the other way is if there are expos and events up there, if you, not Steve, but if you talk to the event organizer, they take you seriously. We can reach out, but they don't really take us seriously because everybody's reaching out to them trying to get a spot. But if you, somebody who attends those events, reaches out and says, I can get people to come. I can get people to drive from 350 miles away, and I can get local people to come. They will listen to you. So that's the way to do it. So reach out to us if you want to host a clinic. Myra's watching. Myra, Steve and I were talking about you. So glad that you're here. Watching from California. Nice, warm summer weather here. Love to hear that. Erica's watching from Oklahoma, hot and sunny, 97 degrees. Red Eagle is back. Red Eagle, hi guys, overcast and severe storms on the horizon. Stay nice and safe and make sure that Abner is safe too. All right, Kathleen will make sure that y'all are taken care of. Cindy says, awesome, thank you so much for the tip. And Jim is watching from Alabama. So let's get back to our first question. And this one came from Holly. Holly says, hi there, I'm excited I caught you live. Believe me, we're excited that you're here too. This show does not happen without you, Holly. My mule was born June 12th. Congratulations. What are some tips I can use to raise a good mule? P.S. This is my first mule, and my plan is for a lifelong trail partner. Man, June 12th, you are in the perfect spot. Steve, share with Holly some of the things that she can do.
June 12th this year, so she got a baby then.
That's what it sounds like.
That's right. All right, number one thing, and I was just talking with a lady yesterday up in Flagstaff. I was talking to her on the phone, and here's the deal, folks. What you need to do with your babies, number one thing, is make sure their feet are straight and balanced. If you've got straight feet and balance, you're going to have nice straight legs, front and rear. Now, folks, here's the sad thing about this. People do not take care of their babies when they're younger. How do I know this? Because I've seen hundreds of mules with crooked feet, crooked legs, front and rear. Why is that? Because they did not keep up the farrier work and keep them balanced. Super important, okay? And the more you pick up their feet and the more you just kind of go over it with your hand to start with, and then eventually maybe like a piece of a stick or something like that, then maybe something metal, and let them start feeling it. That's the number one thing that you need to do as far as his overall health. Next thing, he doesn't need a halter on. Folks, I have seen a lot of babies, unfortunately, get hung up with a halter and they died, okay? No halters. Babies can do crazy things as tough enough as it is with older animals, but babies especially. So use the come-along hitch exclusively, especially for the next 6 months. Put the come-along hitch, we'll lead them from A to B. Do not tie your babies up. Don't do that, okay? I don't tie anything up until they're about 2, and then I tie only wither high, That's all. But I don't tie him up. I don't dally him up to mom when I'm riding or anything like that. I do all of my groundwork and I start getting them used to doing it. Now, the same video that I used in my ground communication video, even though it's an older mule, you can use on your babies, you can use on your donkeys, everything. That video there will show you the steps of what to do to get them soft and going.
That's awesome. So, folks, I just put a link in the comments section, and you should know, if this is your first time ever hanging out with us, we are glad that you're here. We're not here to sell anything. Some things we're going to tell you are going to be easy. Some things are going to be a little bit more difficult, more challenging, and that's good. We like that. Some things are just going to be free. Get out there and do it, and some things are going to require a little bit of investment so that you can get a return in terms of the performance from your animal. So we're not here to sell anything, but if there is one thing that and you've heard this if you've been on this program before, one thing that I am going to insist, and I insist it because Steve insists it, I'm going to insist that you have the ground foundation starting kit. And that includes the come along rope, which just read the reviews. The people tell you exactly why you want it. The adjustable rope halter, and you do want an adjustable rope halter. You may have one, but chances are it's old and it's kind of firmed up, and it's going to take a whole lot of work and a lot of blood, sweat, and tears for you to loosen that up. Just get a new one that's adjustable, and you can fit it to your animal according to Steve's guidelines. And then that bundle comes with the problem mule video that he was just talking about. So don't buy just one if you don't have any of them. Buy the bundle, and I put that in the comment section. It's under $100 when you think about all the money that goes into these animals that you are investing. You want to do things right from the get-go with them, whether that's their brand new babies or whether that's you getting them for the first time. You want to do things right from the very get-go and not feel like, okay, year later, 2 years later, you have to come back and make some adjustments. Folks want to have progress with their mules, not feel like they're having to constantly go backwards. Ain't that right, Steve?
That's correct.
There we go. Okay, let's see here. I want to make sure. Neil is watching from Peshtigo, Wisconsin, hot and humid. Ann is watching from Cambridge, Ohio. Carlin is watching. Me and HTR Sugar Moon watching from southern Iowa. Rip is watching, 101 from the hill. Linda is watching, says, love all the info we get from you. Michigan, hot and sunny. Yolanda's watching. We've gone international again. It's midnight, clear night sky, half moon, shooting stars, 62 degrees, low wind, and watching both of you, the Netherlands. Thank you very much, Linda. Appreciate that. Dottie is watching. Yeah, you know what? Linda has got her priorities, Yolanda has got her priorities straight. She puts her Spanish mule first and foremost, and she does all the hard work showing up here each week, making sure that she's on top of everything. We love you, Yolanda. Dottie's watching from Mayer, Arizona. Karen says, happy to be with y'all again. Hot here in Central Virginia. Stephanie's watching. Fiona's watching. Lynn is watching. Sunny and high 80s, Lakewood, Colorado. Didn't expect to find you. Always see it later in the day. Chaplain Steve. Captain's watching. Captain Richard Matthews. Linda's got a question here. This is Linda Reynolds. She says, I have 2 mammoth riding donkeys that I purchased from Oklahoma. They were trained to ride, but I have been struggling to figure out how to get them to accept the change, and even with the come-along hitch, they don't want to move. They are friendly, but they don't want to work. The bit they came with, they don't want to put in their mouth. Very frustrated with them. That sounds like my 3-year-old, my 6-year-old, and my 8-year-old. Y'all, I am in the thick of it. But we're not here to talk about parenting unless we're talking about parenting these mules and donkeys. Steve, what would you say to Linda? This is a frustrating situation.
Yeah, it is. And, you know, Dave, I hear this all the time. These donkeys are supposed to be trained, or the mules are supposed to be trained. Folks, we can say the word, but seeing the end result, that's what makes the difference. Now, I can tell you that, like when my wife, we used to show my mule Stacy, and it wasn't me or my wife showing the mule. It was a young girl or a young guy, 12 to 14 years old, out there showing the mule. And Stacy is undefeated here in Arizona. She did great, but somebody else rode that mule. and somebody else was able to compete and do well. So if the mule is trained, if they have a good foundation on that donkey, if there's a good foundation there, then it's foundation training, and that's what's important. A lot of folks think trained is this, and I know I'm going to step on some toes. It's trained is this. You put the saddle on and you ride. That's trained. It's trained, and folks, when you go to buy a donkey, you go to buy a mule, and you want one trained, all right, prove it to me. Not just with words, not just words, but prove it. In a 10-foot circle, side pass, turn on the forehand, turn on the hindquarters, back up, stop. That is trained. It is not trained if some kid gets on it and goes down the trail. And unfortunately, folks, and Dave, here I'm going to step on some toes again. Unfortunately, a lot of people think because so-and-so said, I took and I had some kids ride this mule, this donkey. Worst thing in the world, folks. Kids want to get on it and have a good time, and that's okay. But building a foundation takes professional work. Not just climbing in the saddle, not just going down the trail. And that's really important. So, frustrating, I hear it. Start out first with ground communication. Go do exactly what I do in that video, and that donkey will move. Unfortunately, folks, there's a lot of people that just throw any bit or any saddle on them, and
doesn't work out the way they want and do a lot of damage in the process.
Exactly. You know, we talk about this all the time, Dave. They got one thing they fixed, but they created 5 other problems. And this happens all the time. So ground communication, go get the teeth done first.
Okay.
Get the teeth done so that they'll accept the bit. These sorry bits that they're putting in these donkeys' mouths are folks, they're just horse bits. That's all they are. We've got a different palate on a donkey. We have a different palate on a mule. We've got a different palate. And because we do, what do we have to do? We have to fit the palate. Now, it's not just the bit. Now, Dave, you and I were talking about this earlier about my double twisted wire bit.
We were.
And folks, a lot of people just want to buy the bit because they say they got the bridle. No, folks. The bridle has to be designed for the bit. That's what it has to be done. That's why I designed the Mule Rider's martingale. The way it's designed, it works and works flawlessly. But if you go and throw that bit in there and some other bridle, you're going to be calling me up and saying, dang, Steve, I can't stop my mule. That's why I don't sell just the double twisted wire bit. But so, you know, what to do with her, with her 2 donkeys.
Well, the big thing that I would say, Steve, like I'm my concern, not knowing anything, is she said the come along won't work. And that's the ground foundation. So I think maybe we need to know a little bit about what does the come along not working mean. But at the same time, when someone feels like the come along's not working, where do folks make mistakes, or where can Linda feel like, okay, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to do it this way this time because I'm not sure that I was doing it this way last time?
Yeah. I don't know if she bought the kit or not, but there's the problem, Dave. We talked about this earlier. They only buy the come-along rope. They see a few short clips on YouTube and say, okay, by God, it's going to work. Watch the video of how a cowboy from Montana is working with his mule, and watch and see how I perfect him. So that come-along hitch is flawless. You should be able to use it and work all the way through, no problem at all. If it's not working, I'm sorry. We have to go back to what you're doing, okay? Because that, I have trained literally hundreds, probably thousands of mules, donkeys, and horses with that come-along hitch. It does work, okay? So if you want to send me a video, hey, Steve, that's what I'm doing. But let's go back to the very first thing. Did you get the communication kit so that you can watch the video how to do it? Okay. We don't want to just put that come-along hitch on there and say, okay, come-along hitch work. No. There are steps that you have to take.
So she just asked a really great question, and I know next to nothing, but I know the answer to this question. She says, should I start from the beginning with them? And the answer is yes. Am I right, Steve?
Absolutely.
There we go.
Absolutely. Now, I'm going to tell you, they probably weren't, quote, trained. They were ridden, but they didn't have a foundation on them. And that happens a lot with donkeys. Folks, donkeys got a great disposition. Hey, everything's great. Everybody says, oh, look at that, donkey's trained. Or they watch some kid get on it and ride it. And they say, oh, man, look how trained he is. A kid can do it. No, no, no. Start from the ground. Start over again and forget anything you were told and build yourself a foundation that you can lean on. Listen, in 6 months, you're going to have a completely different donkey, 4 to 6 hours a day. In 6 months, you're going to be off and running.
Yeah, let's send a little bit of encouragement, folks, to Linda and folks who are in her same position. Just put in the comment section if you have received an animal, you purchased an animal, or if it was given to you or you had a rescue, and you feel like, you know, you had to go all the way back to the beginning. Just share a little bit of love with her and share a little bit of hope with her, telling her, you know, what you were able to do going back all the way to the beginning. Just put that in the comment section. This is not the Steve Edwards show, although it is called Ask Steve. This is the Mule and Donkey community, and so we want to make sure you know that you're not alone. So Linda, thank you for the question. Really kudos to you for asking it, and really great perception there, saying, do I need to go back to the beginning? Excellent perception, and yes, you're absolutely right. Lane is watching from Central Oregon. Warm enough to make the garden grow. Gotta love that. He says, nice beaver hat, Steve. Love hearing that. David Pingelli from Georgia watching. We got Tyler, 89 degrees and humid. Alicia has our next question. Good to have you here, Alicia. I have a 3-year-old rescue mammoth. He has been trying to overpower me with the come-along rope and take off running. Once he gets in front of me, I'm not strong enough. How can I use the come-along to help him not take off? This is a great question. We do have a lot of folks who can just be overpowered by these animals so easily. Myself, yourself included. Steve, what would you say here to Alicia?
Here's the big thing with anything, with any riding, any groundwork, folks, it's our timing. One of the reasons, the biggest reason I want folks to start with ground communication is so that you can develop timing. Now, here's what you have to do. You don't do anything where you have to move their feet a lot. What I do want you to do is make sure, and this is where people make a lot of mistakes with this come-along hitch, is they try to hold it close, and that don't do no good. And immediately the donkey takes off. Immediately he's gone, you know, because it's too much pressure. Use the leverage of about 3 to 4 foot of rope. Use that leverage and bump, bump, bump. Now here's what I want you to do, folks. Let's just say you're driving a car down the road. Do you just let go of the steering wheel and say, okay, car, get me there? No, you don't. You have to keep that car straight. So I've got my donkey and I'm holding on to the rope, 4 foot, 3 foot away, depending on the donkey, okay? And the donkey looks to the right. I give him a slight bump to the left and he sits. Now the donkey looks over to the right again. I give him a slight bump. Pretty soon the donkey's going to understand that when I look to the right, I'm going to be uncomfortable. But when I am looking straight ahead, I am going to be very comfortable. Now, all of a sudden now, the donkey starts to step forward a step or two. You see, this is your timing, folks, your timing. Now, if you can't take care of the timing on the ground, why are you getting in the saddle? Don't do that. You've got to have your timing. Get your timing done. So the donkey starts to go forward a little bit. Give him a couple bumps, straight down, bump, bump, okay? In other words, you hear what I'm telling you? Do small things first. Do small things. Keep the nose from going right to the left, okay? Keep the nose from it. Now, I can tell you, and Dave will probably remember this, back when I did the video of trailer loading, I had a sharp knife, and it went through my finger, and I barely had one hand. You know, barely had one hand. If you pull my glove off, you would see a bleeding mess. I mean, I had bandages on it and stuff, and we stitched it up. But anyway, I basically had one hand. I ended up taking that mule and making one wrap around the trailer post to keep that mule from overpowering me. And that worked really good, really good. And then I went back, you'll see it in the video, how I started doing small things, and boom, we got results really quick. So start with small things, work your way up. That ground communication video is awesome. And look, that trailer loading video you'll see me doing all kinds of ground foundation to start with before I went to put him in a trailer. You'll see that stuff. So that's something you want to consider as well. So start small, folks. Always do small things, work your way to the bigger.
Yeah, that's absolutely. Oh, go. Did you have something else?
Well, no, I was just going to say, there again, folks, with the come along without the video, I'm different than everybody else, I think, Dave, because I try to make sure people got a how-to video of how to use my stuff. It's one thing, put the bit in, we're supposed to go down the trail. No, you don't just put the bit in. There are foundations to do it. Put the come along hitch and he's going to do everything you want. No. There are foundations, steps, how to do it. I got a videos that goes with it so that you know how, folks, and it makes all the difference in the world if you use it.
So, Steve, what I've got on the screen right now is a picture from that clinic, that private instruction that we did years back out in Buckeye, and I'm showing people right there. Folks, you can see Steve's got a glove on right there, and yeah, his hand was just about all sliced up, and you could see it bust back open and it started to bleed and all sorts of stuff, and Steve used what he was talking about to get that leverage in the same way that someone who may not have the same amount of strength would use and get that same amount of leverage. So it can be done, and it's a matter of going out there. And here's one thing that just a leadership lesson that I've learned when I'm teaching somebody to do, and I'd encourage you to follow Steve. Do it the way that I do it first. Show that you can do it exactly as I do it. And then after you demonstrate that you can do it the way I do it, then make subtle adjustments based upon your animal. Not because, this I heard doing this way or that way. But if you learn that your animal responds just a little bit differently, then make some subtle adjustments. But do it the way Steve tells you to do it first, because that's going to give you a good starting point. Yeah?
Yep. Very good. Very well put.
All right, very good. Okay, so let's keep going here. Next question. This one comes from Paul. Paul sent this in on email. Says, Steve, we are hunting with our mules in the Colorado wilderness this year. Our first time to take our mules. That's going to be fun. What kind of shoes do we need to have them have put on them, please?
My favorite shoe is I use St. Croix, and then I put a little borium on the toe and on the heels. So when I get into that granite, it's able to get some bite. Do not put them just on the front only. A lot of people put them only in the front because of the weight of the neck and the weight of the shoulders. They're thinking about that. Here's the problem. Pretty soon the back feet start getting sore, and so the mule is using his front feet to pull himself. This is what happens. You fix one thing, but you develop 5 other problems. This is what happens. Now the back, he hollows out his back. He doesn't drive off his hindquarters. He gets tired easy, and you can also put some backbone out, okay? So it's really important. So what would I do? I would shoe 4 all the way around. That way your hindquarters push the mule. That way the back rounds out, you don't hollow it out, and the mule flows up the mountains. So St. Croix is what I like to use for a shoe, and I use Drill Tech or Borium on the toes and on the heels. Gives you good bite. Don't listen. I saw on YouTube the other day, a mule trainer was saying that he doesn't shoe his mules, and when he does shoe them, he only shoes in the front because he thinks when he goes up some of these trails, they need it only on the front. No, folks, listen. You've got to have shoes all the way around. I want you to run on bias tires on the back of your car and put steel belted on the front and see how it does. It won't do good, all right? You make sure that when you shoe these mules, shoe them all the way around. And when you shoe them, now this is something that I do, folks, and because the quarters are weak on mules, that's coming around the foot, it's the quarter. And I only put 4 nails in my shoes. That's all, 4 nails. When you put nails back in the quarters, those quarters crack. You'll end up losing a shoe. Also, it's easy enough to lose a shoe anyway. But here's what you want. You want expansion, contraction. Expansion, contraction. That's what you want. Expansion, contraction. So that back heel expands. It pumps blood up and down that leg. and you have a good leg on your mule. Expansion, contraction. I only have used 4 nails, that's it, okay? And you cannot believe the difference in how the foot is going to do. Let me know how you do, partner. If you want to send any pictures, I'll be happy to look at them for you.
That's awesome. Steve, real quick, just a little housekeeping thing. Can I get you, when Steve talks about shoeing and making sure that he gets excited, and I think we bumped the camera a little bit. Steve, can we have you turn it to your right just a little bit? I want to make sure that you're in the center. A little bit more there, a little bit more. That's about good right there. That's good. Perfect. Folks want to see you, Steve. They don't want to see the city slicker. They want to see the real, genuine article cowboy. Mule man. That's what they're looking for. Let's see here. We've got, I did put, when Steve was talking about timing, we just released a video on YouTube all about timing. I put that in the comment section. It's called Halter Training, Working with Your Mule on Timing. And you'll see exactly what Steve's talking about. And you're going to watch it and you're going to think, gosh, isn't he being a little bit difficult on the nose? Well, yeah, he's being difficult on the nose, but you look at the mule. The mule is just blowing up, waiting to happen. Steve is taking control and making sure that he's the herd leader and having control on it was that mule when we went out to Mesa and they had not the one that had the fistula, I think it was on the back, but the other one where Dan put the old saddle up on and within seconds it was riding up on the and you were working on timing. Do you remember what I'm talking about there?
Yep. Oh yeah. That'd be a really good one. We should have named that mule COVID-19 because he was a dishonest rascal.
He wanted to do his own thing, and I tell my boys, I say, look, when you want to do your own thing, you go to your room. Ain't nobody going to do nothing for you or with you. But if you want to do the family thing, then you can come out and you're going to have just as much joy as you can ever find. And so we make sure that those mules do the family.
Good job, Dave. I wish I knew that when I was older.
Well, just picking it up from other folks. Awesome. Let's see here. We've got David Scholl watching from Australia. Good to have you guys here. Love you guys. Yeah?
Dave just sent me some pictures of his new corrals. Man, he looks like he's going to be Mr. Professional there in Australia. All brand new corrals. They look nice. Woo!
Learning from the best, if I do say so myself. We've got Tyler watching in Chandler, Indiana. Let's see. We've got Chris watching, 86 degrees in sunny Maine. We've got Lynn says, I have just started my come-along rope, re-watched the video until I finally got it on correctly and have restarted groundwork. Love that. Trying to get fancy into used to a water crossing. Also need to get her loaded into a trailer. She's had a couple bad experience and runs away from it. I've had some bad experiences in life, and I tend to run away from them too, so I understand that. If we get her to the trailer, she stands, then eventually put her feet in and stands forever before she gets in. Do you have any suggestions? Steve, do we just send her the trailer video?
Yeah, she folks, that trailer video will give you a lot of ground foundation. And Dave, I've been thinking about adding that to our ground foundation kit, because it's a really good one. But here's the thing, we've got the nose going, so we're moving from the shoulder forward. Now we have to move the hind legs. So tapping the mule with a quirk at the point of the croup makes the mule go forward, And there again now, let's go back to this. Folks, it's her timing that is going to help the mule to go forward. Her timing, okay? Don't come up to the trailer and say, okay, Fluffy, get in. Oh, you don't want to get in? Okay, we'll go around in a circle, come back again. You will not ever see me do that. Once I start Fluffy toward the corral, once I start Fluffy toward the trailer, toward the tarp, the water, anything, I stay with it, all right? And I do not take them around in a circle. As soon as you take them around in a circle and go back, you give them what they wanted because they want to be back there, not going forward. So even just a little bit, they'll take it and they'll dink you.
Now, I don't think I'm stumbling onto anything here that's rocket science, but when I hear you talking about that, take them up there, they don't want to do it, go back around and come back again. In my mind, if you've done that 3 times, you just trained them.
That's right. You're exactly correct. You just trained them. It's okay not to go forward. But you can't go in a circle. Here's the problem with that. People, especially horsemen, when they get out on a trail and their horses and do what they want them to do, and a lot of mule people are doing this now, they take them around in a circle. Don't do that. Don't do that, because all you're doing is giving them what they want, and that is to go back the other way. No, when we go forward, we're staying with forward. That's it. You can't go in a circle, folks, at the Grand Canyon. No, you will not like the end result.
You can go in a circle, but you ain't going to live to tell anybody about it.
That's right. You will be in the newspapers, that's for sure. Yeah.
We don't want anybody in the newspapers. Y'all, no. Let's do things the right way, and that's why we do these, and that's why we're glad that you're here.
Here to help.
Here to help. Let's see here. Over on YouTube, we've got Red Eagle. I talked to him earlier. He goes, thanks. Abner says hi, and he's doing much better again. Kathleen definitely keeps us in line. So glad to have you here, Red Eagle. Erica asked where she could send a message. Erica, you can send it to support@muleranch.com, and if it's long, then we'll take a look at it, and we'll get back with you. Let's see here. Susan is watching. Beautiful weather in western Pennsylvania. Myra says the foundation kit has made all the difference for me in developing a safe and effective relationship with my mule. If that isn't what we're going after, I don't know what is. Jennifer says, watching from Northeast Arkansas, hot and humid here. I watch every week, but this is the first time live. All right. I almost feel like we need to have some applause there. Say, all right, we're glad to have you here, Jennifer. Glad you're here. Kim says the three best words we like to hear every now and again is I agree with Steve. So Kim, thank you so much for that affirmation. Ted's watching, says warm and sunny Valley Center, California. David is watching. Hi guys, David Walls from Kentucky. Hot and humid here. Kentucky is the place where I discovered humidity for the first time back when I was 12. Talked about that last week if y'all are interested. Michael's watching. Bo Cruz here in Colorado Springs. I've started with the come along, graduated to the martingale, then the trail rider's bit. Put the trail rider saddle on her with the britchin and the breast collar. There you go. Let's see. Moses Taylor from Santa Barbara. Cool. Sunny. The beaches are wonderful. Agreed. Great for riding trails around here. Love hearing that. Catherine is watching. Kitty in Indiana. Hot today. I have a 19-year-old draft Clydesdale Poitou. Poitou. Poitou? Maybe misspelling. She has a very hard time cantering, very willing, will give me a step or two cantering the front, trotting in the rear. Any thoughts there for Catherine, Steve?
Yeah, Catherine needs to do what's called a lead departure. Now, Catherine, one of the downsides of trying to get a mule into a canter is if you don't have a breeching, if you don't have a tight rear cinch, that saddle's going to go forward, bump the shoulder. So when it happens, the mule stops, doesn't want to go anymore because he's being hurt, okay? He's uncomfortable. So make sure you got a breeching, make sure you got a tight rear cinch, and teach them how to do a lead departure. What does that look like? So first teach them how to side pass, where they go the front two legs, back two legs, and then go to the right, and they can do the left, okay? When you do that, in essence, you are teaching them to do a lead departure, right-hand side. So you're going around in a circle, you take your right hand, turn the bridle up, take your right leg and bump the hindquarters over. They drive off their hind end and they start going around in a circle. Where folks happens all the time, Dave, is they try to canter the mule from a trot. Well, then the mule kicks out sometimes, or the mule just stops because you don't have their back lined up for a lead departure. Go off to the right, go off the left, not straight off. You want to go off to the left and off to the right.
Very good. Awesome. Hopefully that helps you out a little bit there, Catherine. The next, I want to make sure we say hello to folks on Facebook who are just tuning in. And if you are just tuning in, we're so glad to have you here. My name is Dave. This is Steve Edwards. And every Wednesday, we just come together and we do a live clinic here on Facebook and YouTube. So grateful that you're here. Just put your name, where you're watching from, and what the weather's like in the comment section so we can say hi to you. We work really hard to make sure to say hi to everybody who comments. Then ask whatever question you've got. We'll do our best to make sure we get to it today. And then finally, share the broadcast. On Facebook, there's a little share button. We love it if you would put it in front of other mule and donkey folks, even equine folks who are riding horses. Lesser standards, but there is room for them to grow and to find true joy. Put it in front of them as well. And if you're on YouTube, go ahead and just send an email or a text message to friends and family. So we've got Gail watching from Southeast Coastal North Carolina. Love the chats. Gail, Both Steve and I love talking, so it is literally our pleasure. Eileen says, I had lots of trouble with my mule Smokey, Linda. Take your time with both your donkeys and be aware of your timing. Break what you do into small steps until your methods are routine. That's awesome.
Look at there. Yeah.
That sounds like Steve talking right there. That's awesome. Good for
it.
you, Eileen. Tammy says, I've been training equine for 40 years. Only 1 in hundreds did not need completely restarted. All were trained, but all but one had what I call holes in their training and handling skills. Don't feel ripped off. It's best for all to know things that have been covered and understood by the animal. Good luck and hang in there. Most of all, enjoy your time with them. Man, this is great. Linda has a question. She says, how do I cue my... This is Linda the mule servant, Steve. So she's really looking to do right by Theo. How do I cue my mule to back while using the come-along hitch as I do groundwork? Theo will back for leg and rein cues from the saddle, but I want to reinforce everything with groundwork right now. And Theo doesn't back for a voice command. Do I tap his leg with my boot? Something else? What physical stimulus will make him want to move back for groundwork?
Okay, so number one, we're not going to say any words back, back, back. We're not going to do that. We're going to take a come-along rope, and we're going to go right, left, sideways. Not down, not toward her chest. Right, left, sideways. So you're going to go right, left. She's going to kind of throw her head a little bit. And then you're going to go right, left, right, left, right, left. Really tough. So you're going to ask her. You're going to tell her, and then she's going to throw her head and kind of get worried. And then you're going to go right, left, right, left, right, left, and keep on doing it really fast, back and forth, right, left, right, left. And then even if she moves a shoulder a little bit, stop. That's a good start. Wait a minute. Pick it up again, right, left, start over again. You may have to get into a demanding stage several times, especially since you got a blind mule. Try to be on her side where she's got her best eye. and by golly, we'll be looking forward to hearing how you do.
There we go. Bit combo. Thanks. It's working great. Thanks for the pocket knife too. And if you purchase something from Steve Edwards, you'll know exactly what he's talking about there. Rip says, are you planning any clinics this year in Arizona? Yes and no. We would love to do a clinic in Arizona. Yeah. We don't know what is going to be feasible. Of course, if you do a clinic, folks got to feel comfortable coming, and we're just hoping that we get some clarity here on what the future might look like, and you guys can be certain that as soon as it looks like it's a good idea to do a clinic, we'll get a clinic scheduled. Let's see. Ross is watching 100 Degrees in Emmett. Karen is watching while camping in Wawona, Yosemite National Park. Beautiful weather, I'll bet. Beautiful everything in Yosemite National Park. Steve, you ever been riding in Yosemite?
Oh, yeah. I used to pack freight there at Yosemite. And Stephen Ybarra was the manager there at the Park Service for the mules. And Steve Ybarra is just a great mule man, a good guy, and this sort of thing. And worked with some other good guys. Yeah, we packed freight there. We packed freight for the trail classes, for the people who were working on the trails. So we'd take 5 mules, we'd load the gear on them that they needed, and we would go into camp, unload the gear. Some stuff stayed at that camp. Sometimes we had to load up and go to another camp as well. But yeah, I spent a lot of time at Yosemite and been down in Valley, of course, and then all the different trails, all kinds of them, up to Merced, and gone up that trail and stayed at the lake and the cabin. There are several cabins back there that the packers can use and the rangers can use. But yep, that's you're in a beautiful spot. Congratulations.
Yeah, that's awesome. Michael over on YouTube says, it's taken me 1.5 years, and now I am trail riding her at 10,000 feet. Patience and ground communication. Great videos were important to my education as well as my mule. So there you go. And folks, we have all of Steve's videos. If you ever want to go and just get everything right out the bat, we've got all of Steve's videos available in a complete collection. I think it's available for $600, which is about $200 or so off of what it would cost for you to buy them all separately. And they're all digital. They're all delivered right away. There's a couple that are excluded because they come with either a saddle or the Humane Twitch or the Mule Riders Martingale, but all of the main instructional videos are there. So just FYI, that is available, and I believe Bo was one who got that. Kim is watching, says, I'm working on getting my miniature donkeys to trot beside me. Sometimes they do, other times they don't. How do I get consistency with them? Man, if that isn't what you're looking for, I don't know what it is that you're looking for. Consistency. Consistency,
yeah. Well, the come-along hitch itself, it does it, okay? But there again, it's your timing. When the donkey already says, I don't want to do it, you need to feel that on the rope. Again, it's your timing. When you feel that rope tighten up a little bit, they're getting ready to say, hey, I'm done. I'm not going to go no more. And listen, with donkeys especially, always do small steps. Don't just get in there and say, okay, we're going to run 100 yards today. No, no, no. You're going to run 10 yards today. You're going to run, and you're going to do that 3 times. The next time you do it, you may run 15 yards, and you're going to do that 6 times. The next time you do it, you may run 20 yards, and you're going to do that 9 times. And next time you do it, you may run 25 yards, and you're going to do that 12 times. You hear that? 3, 6, 9, 12. Okay? Don't try to get it all at one time. That donkey will quit you. They're saying, hey, that's too much information. And I've literally had them just lay right down and say, I ain't moving another step because I don't understand what's going on. When they know what's going on and they're willing and you don't pressure them, away you go. You know, you'll do good. Donkeys are awesome.
That's great. Awesome. Thank you for that question, Kim. Next question. This one's from Lynn, and she says, where did it go? How do I address jealousy in my mule? My mini mule and my full-size quarter-horse mare get jealous of each other when I'm working with the other.
Yeah. Well, keep them separated. That's the big thing you can do. I've had some people really get hurt from this. It's not. It is some jealousy. I guess you could look at it that way. But what it is one of them wants to be part of the herd, and the other one will fight for its place to be in the herd. So you're working with the little mule, and the horse comes along and says, "Hey, I want the mule out of the way so that I can be second in command, or I can be working with the leader." You know, so tie the horse up someplace. Tie the mule up someplace, tie him or put him in a corral, and then do your work with them. You know, they'll get over it. But what they're trying to do is they're trying to get to be where they can be part of this herd. They're seeing the herd doing something, and they want to get in there and be part of it. So that's really, really important that you understand that, because they will fight each other to spend time with you, and you don't want to get to that point. All it is pecking order with your equine.
Awesome. Great question. Great answer. Trace is watching. Hello from Columbia River, George. I have a BLM burro that I want to take on backpacking trips. How should I secure him at night? I have a high line, but doesn't he need to lie down?
No, they don't lay down much. And a high line is okay. It's going to depend on if it's forest rules or if it's Park Service rules and this sort of thing as to how you set up a high line. Does it need to lay down? No, they don't need to lay down all the time, okay? The downside of having them where they can get down is if they get a foot over top of the rope, then you can have a heck of a wreck. My favorite way is to teach them at home to start with. At home to start with, not just put them on a high line out there on the side of the trail. Start them at home to start with, have them to where the rope comes down and the snap. Here I said snap on this one. It's okay to do a snap on this one, okay? Because of the way you're doing your long rope. And you take and have it so that it is wither high. The rope comes down and is wither high. Now, a wither high we'll start with, we'll keep the mule's head, keep the donkey's head up, and they start learning to pay attention and be respectful of that. Now, it's important that you have a halter that's adjusted, because if you don't have a halter that's adjusted, they can get disrespectful really quick, and you're going to have a lot of problems. So start with wither high and work your way. The next time you do it, you're probably going to do a little bit below the wither. Next time you're going to do that, be maybe shoulder high. Never any lower than shoulder high on any of your equine that you're going to highline. Now, I've got a video, Dave, that's called the Wait Here. And it shows you in there how to do high lines. It shows you in there how to, in my favorite way, this is my favorite way, folks, is to hobble a back foot. Hobble a back foot to a stake or hobble it to a tree, but I like to hobble a back foot. It's the easiest way. They don't get near so tangled up in a mess. Listen, they get themselves in a mess pretty easy. Now, let's just say that you've got a lot of area that you're going to put the donkey in or the mule in. My next favorite way is to hobble a left front, a right rear. And then you got a single hobble on the right rear, a single hobble on the left front, and then you have a rope going from A to B, and then you can adjust it so that the mule, the donkey scoots. The worst thing in the world you can do is to hobble them 2 front feet to have them graze. 2 front feet hobbling, folks, is not for grazing. 2 front feet is to stand still and quiet.
Very good. I put a link to that Wait Right Here, the basics of hobline, highlining, and picketing. I mean, the description answers the question. You want your mule to stand still when you say stand still, and move when you say move. Learning the basics of hobbling, highlines, and picketing will equip you to train old Fluffy to wait right here. I mean, that's exactly what folks want to do. So if that's what you want to work on, go ahead, check that out. I put a link in the comment section. Next question that we've got here. This one comes from Steven. Says, usually hot in Sedona, Arizona. How old should my 2-year-old me be when I try to bridle and saddle to get her accustomed before she's old enough to ride? This is one we get a lot. Man, I'm fumbling over my words. This is a question we get a lot. Steve, talk about this age.
Well, 2 years old, they don't have all their bones lined up really good, especially their knees. Folks, cartilages on the knees can't handle a lot of training on these young mules. So under 3 years old, you want to be pretty darn careful, and be careful about weight, and be careful about trotting, because these are all ways that can break down the cartilage of the knee. A lot of different ways. That's just an example. So I usually will start saddling my mules and my donkeys at a young age, even a year old. I'll use a surcingle first. They take a surcingle nice. I'll go ahead and hang a breeching and breast collar on them, lead them around with a come along hitch. But as they start getting ready to ride, I've got to do, there's a video that I've got, and you see, it's called Foundation Colt Starting, and you'll see 5 people, 5 different animals, and all 5 of these animals, nope, these people are not professionals, and you'll see the steps, A, B, C, how to do it. It lines it right out. You'll see 5 people that have never rode a bronc before, and you won't see a bronc in any of them 5.
It's awesome. Next question. This one comes in from Janet. Sent a message saying, my mule has an 1/8 acre to openly roam and a stall in the barn. Owner asked the mule to enter through a secondary. The owner asked me to have the mule enter through a secondary unused entrance to the stall, and the mule freaked out. Has not entered the barn to eat since. How long will it take to get the mule into the stall to eat if she does not give him food outside the stall?
Well, he'll eventually go. He'll get hungry enough. He'll do it. Sounds like she must be leasing a piece of ground. Personally, folks, and I'm a big advocate of this. They don't need 1/8 of an acre. They don't need a bunch of area. They need a 20 by 20 stall. That's all they need. That's all they need. When I first bring my mules in here for training, they start in a 10 by 20 stall. They will spend their next 6 months of training in a 10 by 20 stall. Even my own personal mules, 20 by 20 stall is the biggest stall that I would put them in. I never turn them out in the pasture. If I turn mules out, it's only because they're young mules or mules that I'm getting ready to start riding, and I let them go out there in the 10 acres, and there's no food out there really. There's just cactus and mesquites and stuff like this, so they get stuck They get cactus on them. They learn not to put their nose in places, things like that. And they do it on their own. They do a good job. But I do not put them out in a pasture or any big areas. 20 by 20 stall, folks. You will see the major difference in your animals if you put them in a bigger than that. They don't need you. They flat don't need you. Now, here's this mule who's dependent upon you, who's hungry, who needs to get this food. Will he eventually go in there? Yes. Okay. So yes, but I would put them in a 20 by 20 stall. They don't need an eighth of an acre.
Awesome. Yep, we talk about that a lot, and it's kind of a little head tilt for folks, but then when they start realizing that, coming back to you control what they need, they can't get it without you.
Yeah.
So when they're out there getting everything that they need without you, they have no reason to come to you, and folks wonder why they're hard to catch in pasture. Well, that's why. But then on top of that, you can monitor all of their food, all their water, all their vitamins, all their minerals. You know exactly what you've got. We talk about it a lot. Great question. Thank you for asking it. Tim is watching from Nogales Camp, California. We've got Moses watching, and Moses says, what's the best way to train a mule for gunfire? I was thinking of a 22, then maybe a 38 9mm, graduate to a 10 to 12 gauge, then maybe a 357 223. Distance from the mule, what distance from the mule would be appropriate?
I don't shoot around my mules, folks. I don't see any sense in it. I did shoot a deer one time off of one of my horses 40 years ago, but this is what I do, folks. I want a good, clean bullet. So when that bullet makes its strike, it's going to be one time and the animal goes down. Now, I know there's a lot of people that like to have games, running and shooting targets and stuff like that. I personally don't approve of it, simply because a lot of people take that animal in for trails, and I have a lot of my clients that have runaways because all of a sudden that's what they got. So what would I do? I always get off of my mules. I always tie them up. I pull the bridle off. I tie them up. I go over on a nice hillside. I set and I glass. I spend time glassing and this sort of thing. Then if I go to pull the trigger, I am at least 100 yards away from my animal before I pull the trigger. Now, I can tell you by experience, and a lot of it, that just because you shoot once or twice and that mule doesn't run off, doesn't mean on the 90th time he will run off. Will he run off? Yeah. You catch him off guard, and I'll guarantee you come out. Now, have I got some friends that use snake shot in a 22 and shoot rattlers when they go out there? Yeah, a good buddy of mine, Randy, from down at the Andrada Ranch. He says a snake ain't worth getting off my horse for, or my mule, and he'll shoot them right off. But it's a 22. That is the biggest caliber I would suggest doing, and I would only use it to fix rattlesnakes.
There you go.
Yeah.
Nice appetizer, right?
Yeah, rattlesnake's good eating.
Rattlesnake is good eating. Chris is watching, says, Steve, love your shirt. I love my new Ram 1500. Steve is a Dodge Ram man. That's something that I've known for a long time. Yeah. Let's see here. Yolanda, Dave, I put a picture in your messenger for the others to see new tack from Steve for my mule. I'll see if I can bring that up here. That's awesome. Jack is watching from Johannesburg, 74 degrees. It's sunny. Steve is watching. Steve and Debbie from Kentucky. Lamar says, hi, Steve. Lamar Davis, Price, Utah. Will fresh grass cuttings give my mule a problem? 95%.
Yeah, I want to be quick on this one. Fresh grass cuttings from your lawnmower and this sort of thing will colic your mule within split seconds. Take and do fresh cuttings, put it down someplace and put your hand on it. 5 minutes later, you'll feel how hot it is. You will colic your animal out.
Awesome.
Sorry to cut you off, Dave, but that's a hot button for me.
No, and you know what? What I love about Lamar asking is he wants to know.
Yeah.
Like, he's not going out there and just doing it, which, Steve, what we've learned, I'm just guessing, 90% of people will just go out there and do it because they heard it on a Facebook group or they saw it on a YouTube video. And here you've got Lamar coming and asking the question. So I say, hey, that's what we love about this community. Folks are not afraid to ask questions. So thank you, Lamar. Let's see. Linda has a great message here. Linda, I agree with Eileen. Don't be discouraged if you have to break things into very small steps. You will feel so validated when you ask the mule to do a tiny thing and he does it. It goes back to just standing square and straight with feet still. Considering how big they are, there is nothing like training them to stand still. So that's great. Love seeing that. Faye is watching, saying good eye. So I think we've gone international again. Linda says, thank you, Steve. Nikki says, I was suffering. Let's see. Okay, that's spam right there. Let's see. Lynn says, thanks, Steve. It's great to know they see me as the herd leader. Definitely a confident boost. Kathleen, sorry to join late. Beloved Kay and I had anal glands removed, and she's in need of mama's love. Please tell my equines don't hate me. Internet search sent me to Alice's rabbit hole. Okay, there you go. Lydia says, watching from Canada. We've gone international, enjoying the conversation and information. Linda's got another question. Question from an older rider. Steve, how often do you find that you are able to ride? I know you have had joint replacement just like me, so I know you understand having to plan your mule time based on what the mule servant can tolerate. I'm doing all ground work right now, so Theo and I can trust each other every step of the way, but I'm grateful for the benefit of your experience. So Steve has a lengthy resume, most recently hip replacement surgery, multiple hip replacement surgery. So that's what she's talking about. What would you have to say there, Steve?
Well, it was awesome. I hurt so bad in the saddle from my hips, and folks, it's not always the saddle; it's the way we sit, in a saddle. And unfortunately, when our hips are bad, there ain't no saddle in the world going to make you comfortable. And until I got my hips replaced, that done it. Did I have a problem with my left hip? Yep, it got infected, and they replaced it 4 times. But now I can ride anytime I want to ride. I just climb out, go, and away I go. Now, unfortunately, all of my mules are gone, and so now I go down to the Andrada Ranch with Randy Figgins and the Andrada Ranch, and that's where I ride. Good mules down there, and I can really enjoy the countryside.
That's awesome. We got another question from Steve. Steve asks, what is the best way to train? And this is not Steve Edwards sending a question to himself, guys. Come on now. Steve says, what is the best way to train 2 non-trained Buddy Sour standard donkeys? We're waiting for our foundation video to arrive. Now, I hear Kathleen in my brain right now saying, definitions, Dave, definitions. So, Steve, what's the definition of Buddy Sour? And what's the best way to train Buddy Sour standard donkeys?
Okay, here's the thing, folks. No such thing as training them to not be Buddy Sour. They will be Buddy Sour, and somebody brought up that word years ago. What it amounts to is that equine wants to be with the other equine because they feel comfortable. They don't like to be with you because you're a predator, they're a prey animal. So what's the best way? Respect. Now, that's something that's gone down the tube worldwide, respect, but let's just go back to respect, how I look at it, okay? And respect is this: respect for the halter, respect for the bit, respect for the come-along hitch. So when I go off to the right and one of my other clients go off to the left, I expect that donkey to go with me. They expect the donkey to go with them. Why is that? Because they respect the come-along hitch, they have foundation training on it, and they will go because they respect the come-along hitch. Do they want to be apart? No, because this donkey is going to go with a predator, this donkey is going to go with a predator, and they don't feel comfortable, okay? Will they want to be together? Absolutely more comfortable. But here's the thing. If you don't get your groundwork lined up, and you get on the side of a trail or something like that, and they want to be with another equine because that's what equine do, they'll do it because they don't have respect for the bit or whatever it is, bridle that you're using. So Buddy Sour, you're not going to change it. Why? Because that's what the good Lord give these animals to protect one another. They feel more comfortable being with another equine than they do with you, a predator. That's the way God designed them, okay? period. That's the way God designed them. So going back to this, get them in the come along hitch, get your groundwork. Yeah, Dave, we're running overtime. Isn't that fun? We always do that.
Oh no, you're fine. I just had I have got one of these dang newfangled watches, and all of a sudden it just started bouncing off. So we're good. We've got just a couple more questions. So I apologize, Steve. I wasn't trying to signal.
No problem.
There.
No problem. Mine's on the charger right now. You know?
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
But we don't do this for an hour. We end up having so much fun. It ends up going for an hour, and who knows?
Folks are great. Patty sent in a message. Says, how many times a year do you worm a mini donkey? I live in Kansas. Thank you.
Okay, so worming, folks, is going to depend on a couple things. If you have a good diet lined up, good nutritional program where you are feeding them the proper diet, and they're not out on a pasture eating, or they're not eating a lot of grass hay. Here's the problem, folks, is when it comes down to this diet, it's the most important part, because you don't know what is in that hay. That's why I feed pellets. That's why I fed pellets. You don't know what's in that hay. And so if here in Arizona, I usually I usually worm my animals once a year. Every spring, I floated teeth. Every spring I wormed them. Now, you can do a fecal test on them with your doctor and get an idea how they're doing. But the biggest thing you can do with that donkey, and folks, all of you, with your donkeys, get the teeth floated. Most important thing, get the teeth floated. That way they can properly grind their feed and they can properly eat it good. So, I would say at least once, and always change it. So one day you'll do one worming, you'll do Farnham, another worming, you'll do Zomectin, or vice versa, all right? But don't feed the same worming all the time.
It's awesome. Next question. This one came from Mary Jo. Why do we start training in a snaffle and then work up to harsher bits? Why not stay in the snaffle? So one question I want to key in there is, she says harsher bits. So is that kind of a misunderstanding, or some folks think that bits are harsh? So want to just highlight that. But her question is, why do we start in the snaffle and then work up? Why not just stay in the snaffle?
The snaffle bit is the harshest bit out there. Oh, did you hear that? Snaffle bit is the harshest. Why is that? Because you're pushing on the tongue. Now, how would you like to have somebody always sticking something on your tongue and hold you into place, and then pulling right here at the same time? It's really uncomfortable. And then the bit running across your bars. The snaffle bit, folks, is the harshest bit you can get. Can you make it easy? Yes. Can you make it lighter on them? Yes. Number one, your biggest problem with folks that with bits in their mouth is you put it in with one wrinkle or two wrinkles. Don't do that. Let the mule, let the donkey hang down the bit, hanging down to their incisors, or if they're a John mule or a young jack, to their canines. Let it bump the teeth. They'll pick it up. They'll pack it. They'll show you where you like it. The snaffle bit is the harshest bit you can use. Now, second thing, okay, and especially a smooth snaffle. You use a smooth snaffle, folks, I'm going to tell you, I've seen more cut tongues from a smooth snaffle bit, especially from horse trainers, because they're pulling too much. More cut tongues from a smooth snaffle bit than any bit out there. Now, here's the deal. When you start going to a bit with shank and a port, now it's lighter. It's easier. That port whisks the roof of the mouth. No longer do we have tongue communication. We are now using the bars of the mouth, which is a lighter bit, and you have some leverage. You barely pick up on those reins. Here's the downside, Dave. Here's the downside. Remember the fix, so take one thing's right, we make 5 other things wrong. Mm-hmm. Here it is. Here, let's take the finished bit, which you say is a harsher bit, which is not. When you put 2 hands on that bit, you just created harshness tremendously. 2 hands are meant to be on a snaffle bit for direct reining, period. When you start going to a finished bit, one-handed with 2 fingers, folks, 2 fingers, that's all. Is that harsh? No, because here's the problem. You're making the bit do something, making them go to the right, making them go to the left. You're not allowing the bit to work. You're not picking up the bit. On a snaffle bit, you take, pardon me, and you have two hands. You pull them clear over here, or pull them clear over here to make them go. That's not the way the snaffle bit's designed. A snaffle bit is designed so that you just turn your wrist. Direction, impulsion. Here's my horn. My left hand doesn't go past my horn. My left hand comes as far as my horn. Now, I'm going off to the left. My right hand is going over to my horn. That's to keep you from over pulling. I was talking to a horseman the other day in Oklahoma, Ada, Oklahoma. You got an email from him wanting to know about he hadn't received tracking information yet.
Yeah.
And so I was talking with him back when we first talked, and I was telling him about the differences of mules and donkeys and horses, and he said, "My gosh, Steve, I had no idea." Especially trying to do lateral flexions and this sort of thing. He says, I was going to take him out there and do lateral flexions. And I said, yeah, he'll take you out there one day and he'll run right through that bit, and you thought you were training and you screwed up. You did one thing that you thought was good and you created 5 other problems. You got him stiffening the neck muscles, you got him stiffening the throat, you got him stiffening the shoulders. You hear that, folks? The one thing that you want to consider is don't pull him. Snaffle bit, yes. You use a smooth snaffle bit, you are destroying the mouth of your mule, folks. Oh, Steve, you're pretty tough. Yes, I am. Everybody says, oh, Steve, that double twisted wire snaffle bit. But we got videos that shows.
I'm going to show them that right now, Steve. I'm going to let them watch. You won't be able to see it, but the folks are going to be able to see the video right here. I'm going to play it for them. So here you go, folks. Steve Edwards demonstrating the double twisted wire snaffle bit and how much
we must have a bit
there it
in
goes.
order to communicate. I use a double twisted wire snaffle bit simply because I capture the tongue on both sides of the tongue rather than a single snaffle.
This is the Phenix Zoo video, Steve.
So put your fingers out here. Okay. Now this is the tongue of the mouth. When this is inside of the mule's mouth, it looks like this. It's just laying here. When I want to say whoa, I pick up on both sides of the ring, and you can see then the snaffle goes on both sides of the tongue, and then they put the pressure, and you can feel the pressure, and then of course the animal says, well, what can I do to be comfortable? And as soon as he stops, I let go and the bit comes back into place. Okay? Unlike a snaffle bit, which is just one single, when it's the pressure, feel the difference in the pressure? That's a lot more pressure there with just one single than it is with a double that goes on both sides. Whole lot more comfortable. Even though the bit looks a lot nastier, looks a lot more uncomfortable, it's phenomenally comfortable, okay? What you just saw. Now, put your fingers out here, the 2 fingers. Now, let's just say I want to go off to the right. So this is going to be like the violin bow on the violin. When I want to go to the right, the mule or a horse feels, just keep your tongue in one place, feels that. You feel that? Okay? So it feels, and it says, what can I do to be comfortable? And as soon as his head goes, my hands get quiet. Get the idea? What can I do to get comfortable? As soon as his head goes, my hands get quiet. Feel the difference? Okay? So I want to go a direction, I'm uncomfortable. As soon as you go that direction, my hands get quiet. Feel the difference? Okay? So it's very, very important we understand that we must have the proper bit to do the proper job. Okay?
There we go. That's it, folks. So you see Steve right there. He shows you exactly what it is. It's exactly what you wanted to know. I'm glad we have that video because it does a really good job.
Yeah. And I've done the same thing worldwide. When people look at my double twist wire snaffle bit and said, oh, that's an awful thing. Listen, folks, I learned from one of the best old cowboys in the world. He gave me that bit. And he said, Steve, when you learn how to train, you'll be using this bit all the time. And he's right. It's a wonderful bit. Can you buy it somewhere separate? No. But this bit I've had made. I used this pattern that I used from a bit that I got 40 years ago, and I used that bit in my mule rider's martingale. Okay, and then I go lighter. Now here's the thing, folks. Here's the thing. When you start getting into a finished bit, you are riding 80% off your legs, 20% off your hands, and you're only using 2 fingers. That's all. If you put 2 hands on it, you are hurting your mule and donkey. A shank bit is not meant to be used 2-handed, only 1-handed. You're creating phenomenal amounts of pain. And here's the problem, Dave. most people don't realize that these mules and these donkeys, they're sullen. They'll just kind of go ahead and go along with it for a while, and then they've had enough, they blow up. But you think you're doing okay when, folks, you're not. You're not doing good by your mule or your donkey.
So I got two more questions. One of the questions, tilt your camera just to the left a little bit there, Steve. The question here is, do you believe in getting your jacks gelded? If so, why or why not? This one came from Alicia. Do you believe in getting your jacks gelded? Why or why not?
Absolutely. You want brain surgery. Listen, when they have their testicles going, they are not thinking about anything but breeding, period. And you want a gentle donkey to have a nice little jack, you take and geld him right away. They can be extremely dangerous. You're using him for breeding, that's one thing, but you don't want to take them out with people. Listen, buddy, and here again, folks, this is the truth. A lot of y'all need to be hearing. You gals come into your cycles and this sort of thing. I've seen these jack donkeys actually try to breed when it was a woman and not a donkey, And so you want to be careful there, ladies. You do not need to have a jack stallion around. Geld him, give him brain surgery, and he'll be wonderful. If you don't geld him, he's going to hurt you someday.
Got a comment here from Sandy. Sandy says, both of my mules drop their heads and relax when ridden in the double twisted bit I got from Steve.
Good deal.
Yeah. Okay, this is our last question for today, and it's a series of 3 questions from Manda. Manda says, first question, why would only one person at a feedlot be able to handle mules and not the others? And so it's a couple of Australian feedlots have tried to use mules and only one person has been able to ride or handle them. I suspect this is because the other people tried to handle a mule have been unkind or simply riding the mule like a horse instead of adapting their riding style. Why would you think that is?
Well, here's the thing, is if you're, I'm going to call it like it is here, folks. If you can bluff a horse through, but you can't bluff a mule through. When I set up my program at the Phenix Zoo, I set up a safety program and a how-to program. Here's the video, and here I am with the videos. Here's the video. This is how you do it. You cannot bluff a mule through. You ride them. You understand what the foundation is. You'll get everything you need to get. But, at a feedlot, folks, I have worked mules in feedlots. I've worked them in ranches, brandings. Randy and I all the time down there are sorting cattle, and I use a little 13-2 mule, and the mule will do exactly as you ask him to. Now, if I teach you how to communicate with the mule, then you'll do fine. But here's the problem. As horsemen, we think we can just get on and ride them through. Not true with a mule. With a mule, you need to learn how to communicate. And once you do, they'll do anything for you. But don't try to bluff them through. Don't try to do it. That's one thing when I was talking with the groups there last Thursday in Australia. We was talking about mules and stuff. One of the points I wanted to get across, Dave, is really important, is that just because you got trained mules doesn't mean they're going to respond to everybody, because people use the wrong cues. Now, my mules, I would take them to clinics and I would say, here you are, watch the mule. And man, the mule just do everything. And everybody, wow, looky there, he's trained on it. Okay, and I would say, okay, who up here in the audience have been riding 20 years? Hands fly up, I choose someone, they come down and ride. Dave, 10, 15 minutes later, they look like they weren't even trained. Why is that? Because they miscommunicated with the mule, they overpulled on them, they used their legs incorrect. If you have a mule with a good foundation, a donkey with a good foundation, phenomenal what you can do. The mule, the donkey is only going to go to your level, what you have the ability. Now, I can say to you, David, está necesario este día, vámonos por las montañas, pero está frío allá en las montañas, aquí está muy calor. Now, you probably understood some of that, right? No.
¿Dónde está el baño?
Yeah, where's the bathroom? ¿Dónde están los cervezas? Anyway, so here's the thing, is you are trying to speak 2 different languages. When you're trying to ride your mule like a horse, He's not a horse. You got a donkey and a horse together, you got to learn. Now, you take the donkey and the horse, they make a mule, that's poetry. But you should be able to take, and I'll ride any mule, and in 10 minutes, I'll show you what they do, what they know, and what they don't know. Your feedlots are simple to ride in. They're simple to work as long as you know cattle. And then they're simple to work as long as when you pick up on the rein, you understand what your mule knows how to do. I ride a 13 mule when we're sorting cattle down at the Andrada, a little tiny mule. And I do that because he's easy to work in that tight places. You know, in a feedlot, you've got very narrow corrals, very tough to work, and you've got a lot of cattle at one time. You better learn how to read cattle, and then as you're reading the cattle, use the mule to do your finished work, you know.
That's awesome. Next question. If we try to establish a breeding program to increase the number of saddle mules, David said that mules should be left until 4 years old to break in. How much training they would need before they might handle the feedlot work? How long does it take to establish a good foundation on a mule, everyday handling for a month, a year, 2 years, etc.?
You know, David, this is David's show, I guess.
So this is Manda sending a message in, but I'm guessing she knows David.
Oh, okay. So here's the deal. Folks, 6 months builds a foundation. 4 to 6 hours a week of training, and in 6 months, you should have a really good foundation on your mule. Really good, easy to do, okay? But 4 to 6 months. And I prefer to start a 3-year-old. Now, if this feedlot company does what I'm hoping they'll do, they can actually start breeding quality mules there and have quality mules to be able to sell to people who want good, solid, quality mules. Now, the proof is working the cattle, but the proof is also working the trail. So 6 months, Amanda, you can build a nice foundation where you got a good handle and you can go from there. I can take any mule and in 6 months have them working nice in a feedlot. But I like to start my 3-year-olds. I like 3-year-olds. Now I'll take any of them, but if you've got problems, you have to work through the problems to get them there. And that's the downside. Just like a lot of horses, if they don't have a good foundation, you know, it takes you a while to get through the garbage to get them straight.
Okay, last question here, and this is a great one to end on. How do you recommend we go about training people in a way we can replicate to teach people to handle and ride mules differently than horses? I am concerned about this for the success of stock people riding them and the welfare of the mules. Thank you for your time.
Okay, this looks like some more of the Australian deal there. Okay, so
yeah, that is.
Repeat the question one more time now. Let me make sure I got it.
So this one, Manda had email. She sent these 3 questions. This was the third.
Oh, the third question. Gotcha.
How do you recommend we go about training people in a way we can replicate to teach people how to handle and ride mules differently than horses?
Right. Okay. So that's where I come in, Amanda. Okay. That's when I come to Australia where I can show you. I put together a program at the Phenix Zoo. I put together a program at Pierce College in LA. I put together a program in Minnesota and several other places too. Packing stations. And people, anyway, lots of different things. Put together a program. Can I spend time with people and show them how? Yes. Building a foundation of safety first, and most important, safety first, and then start from the ground first, Amanda. It's important. You hear me talk about this a lot. Start from the ground first and work your timing. I cannot tell you how many cowboys that I've worked around and other professional riders and stuff that do a pretty fair job in the saddle, but they will improve and do so much more better starting from the ground. With me spending time when I went to Israel, just as one example, when we did the program there, when the mules came in, they were dragging the Israeli guys. They were dragging them in. At the end of 3 days, Amanda, those guys, those Israelis, were standing on top of their mules, saddled and all, waving the Israeli flag, and they had gotten that far. We got all kinds of pictures of them picking up back feet and all this stuff, but that was 3 days of 10 hours a day hammering it, okay? And usually I can do something over about 7 to 10 days and have a really nice program. But look, safety first is where you got to start.
All right, Steve, so the last thing we got here, Yolanda sent in a picture of her mule all tacked up with Steve Edwards gear after all of the hubbub, getting everything shipped from the U.S. to the Netherlands. I just sent you a text message. I'll put it up here on the screen for folks to check out. You've got it in your text message there, Steve. There is Yolanda's mule standing nice and tall there. Look at those ears. Looking good. She is a proud mama, Steve.
Isn't that a good-looking mule now?
That's a good-looking mule.
That's a good-looking mule. Yeah.
There you go. Love that color.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay,
Wonderful.
Yolanda.
Here we go. Here's the mule trainer right here. He's got some feedback.
Here comes the trainer in me. You got your saddle too far forward. I want you to notice how the front of your saddle is up, your back of the saddle is down.
Oh,
okay?
man, yeah.
You see that? Because
yeah, I
it's
do.
on the scapula. So take your 2 cinches, which are the incorrect cinches, by the way, because they're not Steve Edwards cinches. Anyway, and you put them closer together. Right now, they're almost a foot apart. Put them 6 inches apart, all right? And 6 inches apart, and use and move that saddle back. Your saddle is ahead almost 3 inches. Look at the front cinch. It's underneath the front leg, okay? So as you know, Yolanda, and everybody else knows, a teachable moment for Steve, okay? If you give me a teachable moment, we'll get it. So the saddle is too far forward. Cinch is up underneath the leg, and it's those little, folks, I love Yolanda, okay, and everybody else. I don't like these string cinches. They bunch up. Now notice, at the top of that cinch, on the front cinch, how it's nice and wide, and as it goes down, it comes narrow. After a while, those cinches start getting where they're not as strong, and they start narrowing up in the center and start cutting into your mule's belly. So, Yolanda, move the saddle back, send me another picture. It needs to go back about, looks like about 3 inches, and you did a great job on breeching, really nice job on breeching and breast collar. That looks very nice. Yolanda's in the Netherlands, y'all. So you see how her breeching is adjusted high? That's okay if you're riding a lot of flat ground. If you're riding little hills, you want to lower the breeching. If you're riding really tough mountains, you want to really lower the breeching so that they have to sit on it, you know. Beautiful mule. Isn't that gorgeous?
That's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome.
Send me some pictures, Yolanda.
Let's get some more pictures. Folks, thanks so much for hanging out with us. I really appreciate y'all taking some time. We had a fantastic group of people here all throughout the entire broadcast, throughout the entire clinic. So thank you for hanging out. And folks, I'll tell you what, be here next week. Spend a little bit of time with us. We would be very, very grateful. Steve, do you have anything you want to say before we're all done?
Yeah, I just want to say this. My wife and I, we have a bunkhouse here, and we have RV spaces, and we have decided that we'll visit with you and look at the situation. But we want to have maybe about 4 people here. They can bring their mules. They'll have a bunkhouse to stay in, or they'll have RV spots, and you can call me. We'll talk about the price and what it takes. I heard the one lady said she wants to come and ride the trails in Arizona. Listen, out my gate is some of the best trails in the world. You know, you don't have to deal with people, you know. But we are going to rent out the bunkhouse, and we are going to rent out some of the RV spots and with corrals and this sort of thing. So if you all are interested, give me a call. Don't email me. Don't text me. Folks, I use one finger to do this stuff. Dave does 90 words a minute. I do 90 words an hour with my one finger. So call me. Use your numbers. Call me. Hey, Steve, so I can talk to you person to person. Okay?
That's awesome. Awesome. Yeah. Give Steve a call, 602-999-6853. It's on the website, muleranch.com. Thanks for spending some time with us. If you need anything, send a message, support@muleranch.com. All the products, all the videos, everything, the free articles, everything. muleranch.com. We will see you next week, y'all. Take care. Bye-bye.